Am I the jerk? I stole about $70K from my parents over the past year. My parents live in another state from me, but left a large amount of cash in a hidden location back here in our home state. I had access to the stash ever since they left. About a year ago, I lost my job and had been struggling to find new work in my area that pays enough to keep my bills in order. I got a little desperate and took what I needed from the pile to make ends meet. To make long story short, I kept going back as temptation was too hard to resist. The money was spent on mostly rent, food, and random expenses, and occasionally fun things like a video game. For the most part, just living. It's been a year now, and I've taken a noticeable amount, and I'm starting to really feel the guilt and weight of my actions. My parents collectively make about $300K yearly and have been doing so for some time now, so they aren't strapped for cash. It was essentially an emergency fund I've been exploiting, but now I worry that when they inevitably discover that their money is gone, they'll press charges and send me to prison. I'm a newlywed, and I don't think I could give up my spouse and go to jail. The thought depresses me to the point where I think I'd rather pass on. I genuinely don't know how my parents will react when they find out what I've done. It's terrifying me. I love my parents very much, and the thought of this being brought to light breaks my heart. There is a good chance that they won't find out for another year or two at most. Part of me wants to enjoy what time I have left of them being oblivious, and the other part of me wants to get it over with and confess what I've done. Overall, I feel super crappy, but now there is no way I can repay them at this point. The most money I've made in my life is $18 an hour, and that barely pays for my cost of living, let alone paying back this debt. I have stopped taking from the stash, and I am applying like crazy to get a new job before what little cash I have runs out. I already know I'm a crappy person, but it does feel slightly better to talk about this finally. Thanks for listening. I think this OP should just come clean to their parents because the stress alone could eat away at them. But from the way they tell this story, it seems like their parents might not be the best. If this person would rather pass on instead of telling their parents, there must be something going on there. Either way, I hope things work out for this OP. Am I the jerk? I fought a special needs kid and never got caught. So backstory. I'm a 6'1", 165 14-year-old, and this kid was like a 100-pound 13-year-old. So obviously no fight would be fair. This kid was very high functioning, but a little autistic. But I consider him to not be impaired at all. So this kid, I'll call him Roger, has an inexcusable hate for me. I believe it's because I accidentally tripped him on one of the first few days that we knew each other. He hated my guts beyond imagination because I wouldn't feed into his attempted bullying. He knocked over my drink 2 days in a row. I didn't say anything because, oh, it's probably an accident or he's special needs. The third day in a row, I knew it was no accident. So I bought some double-sided tape and I taped it down. He had hit it as expected and it didn't fall over. He was mad now, so he plotted his revenge. Every time he saw me, he tried to trip me, and he even lied to my friends about me, nearly ruining my relationship with my girlfriend. And I almost got in trouble for harassment, but everyone said he was lying. The worst thing he did was he managed to steal my phone while it was on, ran into the women's bathroom, and was about 2 clicks away from sending hardcore spicy content to my mother. At this point, I had enough, so I contacted the principal and he just told me, and I quote, "He's special needs. We legally cannot do anything to him, even if he did what you claim he did." So I formed a plan. He mentioned wanting to fight me a few times. He thought he could just punch me in the balls. So I shoved him in the hallway to make him ask for a fight. As expected, he said, "Do you want to fight me, you little prick? I swear your balls will regret it." I responded with, "Sure, let's go out to the field so we can settle this right now." I don't think he expected me to say yes, but was too prideful to back down. So now, with no people watching, we squared up, and as expected, I absolutely destroyed him. I pushed him to the ground, kneeled on his chest while scratching his arms with my inhumanely long fingernails. Then picked him up over my head and did a rep with him before dropping him 6 feet onto the grass. I then proceed to step on his chest and tell him that if anyone hears of this, death will be too good for him, and I walked away. I would do it again, but it's nice to get this off my chest. Okay, for full transparency, I totally laughed when he said he literally did a rep with this kid's body. I totally understand that we need to give more attention to or be more understanding of kids with special needs, but it shouldn't come at the expense of other people. I don't condone what this OP did, although funny, it seems like this could have been over with just the shove to the ground. Am I the jerk? I put some of my poo in my friend's food as a prank. We were at his place hanging out and he made himself an instant ramen. I've been wanting to play this prank on him for ages and I finally found the opportunity to do it. I went to the bathroom and took a quick poo and I didn't fully wipe my butt, so there was some residue left. I came back and when his back was turned for a minute, I reached up and dropped it into his ramen cup and stirred it around. He continued eating normally and didn't even notice anything. I was laughing to him so much and trying not to completely crack up as he kept asking me what was so funny. I just lied to him and said it was stuff on my phone. He still has no idea. I've considered telling him because I don't want him to get sick, even though it was a small amount, less than a nickel size. I am worried that he will absolutely hate me even though we play pranks on each other all the time. What does everyone think I should do? Bro, this is absolutely crossing the line in my book. I don't care if you like pranks or not, this is just straight up gross and maybe dangerous. I hope the friend of this OP gets new friends ASAP. Am I the jerk? I nanny for a family with 3 kids and I stole the mom's diary and read it. Normal family with 1 boy and 2 girls. However, the mom was a doctor in the maternity ward and would deliver babies all night and sleep all day. She was kind of detached and unfriendly. She slept all day. One time while she was gone, I found empty tubes of morphine in her drawers. Then I got curious and read her diary. Turns out that the oldest child, a boy, was from a previous boyfriend who was an alcoholic jerk powderhead. She left him and took the baby and started a new life, having 2 children with her new husband. I worked for them for years and they never told me. I don't think the kids know either. They all look the same, so you can never tell. Eventually I developed my own substance habit, stole her morphine tubes and used them in front of the youngest baby. Even driving them to school. I still feel bad about it. Bro, what? When I originally read this title, I assumed this was going to be a story about a nanny finding something out about the mother and revealing how she hurts the family. But it turns out that the nanny was the real problem here. Not only was she invading privacy, she was stealing and endangering children. Yeah, I'm not even going to ask the question. This OP is a total jerk. Am I the jerk? I stole my teacher's camera in the 6th grade and recorded cringy videos. Back whenever 6th grade was, I was in orchestra. I was forced to play the double bass. So as a 5', 11-year-old, I was pretty mad. The double bass was taller than I was. My teacher kept a video camera on his desk to record his class concerts and private sessions, where he recorded students to do tests with their instruments. One day, while putting back the heavy instruments, everyone was out of the room. I had turned my bag around on my chest instead of my back, and I looked at his desk that was in the very back of the room. And on his desk was the camera. I grabbed it as soon as I saw it. I bagged it and left, passing my teacher in the hallway. We made eye contact and all I did was wave, walking past him swiftly. About a week later, he had finally noticed. One day walking into class, he had a picture of it on the board, and people were looking around for it. Suddenly he goes, "I know who took it. If no one brings it back by the next class, I'm contacting the authorities." Now, 11-year-old me was scared out of my mind. The next class, I dropped it by his computer and never told him. What did I record? Crappy Minecraft gameplays. Pointed the camera at the monitor and made the worst quality video ever. But to this day, I've never told anyone. I love that 1, this kid recorded cringy Minecraft videos with the camera, but 2, that he fell for the classic, "I know who did it, and if you don't return, I'm calling the police" trick. Kids are so dumb sometimes. Am I the jerk? I bullied one of my best friends so I wouldn't be bullied. Some background info before I get into it. I've had this friend who I've known and has stuck by my side since we were in kindergarten. Let's call her Trisha. Well, we are well past high school graduation, and still to this day, she's always been there for me and I for her. It still makes me feel kind of crappy because back when we were in high school, we were in this kind of friend group. It was just me and one of my other best friends at the time. The problem is that the other friend of mine was kind of rude. Let's call him Nate. Nate was a bully to say the least. He was always making mean jokes at people's insecurities, but that's just how he was, and if you didn't like it, you wouldn't be friends with him. I liked being friends with him, but I hated when he would joke around about the things I'm insecure about. But if you tried to tell him that this joke wasn't funny, he called you sensitive, and usually anyone else in the group would get on your case as well. Well, Trisha wanted to start hanging out with me and Nate. I wasn't so sure because of how he was, but they were already acquainted, so I hesitantly agreed. Well, he obviously started bullying her about stuff that was out of her control. Her hair, appearance, forehead, etc. He always criticized her hair the most and would mock her when she talked by saying ooga booga. She's black and he's not, so this was kind of racist. I obviously felt bad, but I was glad he was making fun of her and not me, so I would join in on the bullying. I didn't see it as racist or bullying at the time. I was young and just wanted to fit in. Now that I'm older, I feel horrible and I just want to apologize, and she seems to have moved past it and is on her own journey of self-love. We keep in contact and I always make sure we're okay and we'll constantly check in on one another. She's still my best friend to this day, and it makes me feel bad knowing what I did to her. This dude Nate sounded like a total jerk. I feel like the whole "if you don't like my jokes, you're just sensitive" is just an excuse that sensitive dudes use when they can't handle criticism. I don't really hold anything against the OP because the only person's opinion here that matters is the best friends. I think everybody did stupid stuff during their school years just to try to fit in. Am I the jerk? I broke my ankle hiding from the cops after taking an anti-socialism sign down. It's been a few years now, so I'm pretty comfortable telling this. Not sure if this violates Rule 7. It's not specifically about politics. There is a political sign involved, but that's the first 2 lines of the story. Just before the 2020 election, a sign went up near my house. I don't recall everything it said, but the last line was something like "Socialism is slavery, Republicans are our last hope." It was on a vacant lot, so I'm pretty sure the owners of the land didn't approve it. Regardless, I didn't want something like that in my neighborhood, so I did something about it. In the middle of the night, I snuck out of the house, dressed in all black, face mask, gloves, the works. The street was quiet, but if a car drove by, I could duck down into the tall grass. It would be hard to see me even if you were actively looking for me. I got up to the sign and using a knife, I freed it from the pole. It was attached via bungee cords. I took it with me, partially as a prize and also to prevent them from reattaching it. I was halfway home when I saw headlights coming up over the hill. Now, I didn't know if this would be a police car or not. Regardless, I looked suspicious AF, so I jumped into a ditch. Now, it had been raining all day, so the grass was wet and I didn't realize how slippery it was. My foot slipped and I heard a snap sound, and this was the worst pain of my life. Here I was, probably a broken ankle, in a ditch in the middle of the night, dressed in all black after committing a crime. I didn't have my phone on me because I was worried about my location data being used against me, so I had no way to call someone. I left the sign behind as there was no way I could get up holding it. And getting down to pick it up again wasn't happening with my ankle. In extreme pain, I limped the half-mile back home. It took half an hour. Every step was excruciating. I went to the ER that night and found out I broke my fibula near my ankle. I had to have surgery to put plates and pins in. I couldn't walk for 3 months. Yes, it was stupid. I probably deserved it, but I would say it was worth it. They never replaced the sign. This sucks. Although I may not agree with the sign's message, stealing is stealing, and maybe this was a bit of karma. One of my favorite videos on the internet is seeing this package thief break her ankle while running away from stealing packages. So I'm sure there's some Republicans smiling at this story. Am I the jerk? My friend wouldn't shut up about Kia, so I bricked him over the head. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he asked for it. I was chatting with a friend of mine about a month ago, and he told me all about a new car he had just got and how great it is. I had inquired about what car he had got, and he had dropped the bomb that he willingly went out and purchased with his own hard-earned money, a Hyundai Santa Fe. I asked him if he was feeling okay, and he insisted he was. He went on about how great it was and how Hyundai makes such good vehicles. I insistently disagreed with him, but then came the straw that broke the camel's back. He said that his Hyundai was a better vehicle than my 2014 RS6, just because it's older, and went on to argue that Kia Hyundai is better than the entire Volkswagen group. I flew into a frenzy of rage and I grabbed a brick from the ground. We were near a construction site, and I hit him over the head with it. Doesn't he know that Volkswagen is the 3rd most valuable car company? The only thing Kia is known for is their seatbelts breaking during crashes and their inflated MPG. Volkswagen has the power of Bugatti, Lamborghini, Audi, Volkswagen, Skoda, Ducati, and Porsche. I freaking hate Kia. I'm assuming this is a troll confession, but Jesus. How dare that friend not know all the great things about Volkswagen? Like how they admitted to cheating admission tests in the USA, and how they were founded in 1937 as part of some dictator's plan during the war. That friend deserves to be bricked for disrespecting VW. Am I the jerk? I used to try to kick pigeons every time they got near me. In absolutely no way do I condone what I did. So I, 22 female, was an evil little child. A little backstory, there was this old car wash that me and my grandparents used to love to go to. I liked watching the cars go through the car wash, and then we'd wait for the guy outside to finish detailing the car and make it look pretty. They had this area where you could get popcorn in the place and a sitting area outside to watch. So watching the car wash and the people detailing was always an event for me with popcorn. At around 5 years old, I was always taken to this car wash, and it was the highlight of my days. I'd sit there on a little ledge holding a palm tree, and I'd be able to sit there with my feet on the ground. I was a little short kid. Pigeons were always around because whenever anyone at the car wash would go, they'd get their popcorn and feed it to the pigeons. I used to always throw popcorn at them. It was always entertaining to watch a bunch of fat gray birds swarm others for the food. Fast forward to when I was 8, I had the not so bright idea to put popcorn on my foot and to see if a pigeon would get near. Spoiler, they did. Whenever a pigeon would get close and eat food off my foot, it made me ecstatic. One pigeon managed to get the food, but also nicked me in the ankle. Surprisingly, for such a sweet kid with a goldfish attention span, I had a bit of an anger issue. I started to put the popcorn on my foot and kick at pigeons when they got close. Granted, I wasn't strong enough to do any damage. I did no harm, but I got one in the beak and it flew away and ate from someone else's popcorn. My grandparents were pissed. They took my popcorn away and told me, "You don't ever hurt an animal, even if they hurt you by accident. They just want to eat and they don't get enough food where they live." I remember sobbing, knowing that I hurt animals was bad and I hurt the thing I loved the most. I was never taken to the car wash again, but my love for animals only grew. I have never hurt a pigeon after that. In fact, I've saved a couple on numerous occasions. But child me was a rotten little thing. Young me makes me never want to have kids. This story made me laugh out loud because I visually see a little happy kid just punting pigeons across a car wash. I think it might have been a little harsh to never take the kid back to the car wash again, especially since they loved it so much. But at least the OP learned a valuable lesson from this whole experience. So that's it for today's episode. Let me know your favorite story in the comment sections down below. Don't forget to follow on Spotify and hit that subscribe button if you want more content like this in the future.